Good evening and welcome to Western Hall for the opening night of conference play. It's going to be the Mastodons of IPFW and your very own Fighting Leathernecks of Western Illinois University. Drew Hoffman and Jeff Marty with you here on the call. And Jeff, I'm excited. It's conference basketball. It's Summit League basketball. That's what we've been waiting for. Not all year. It seems like all year. But this is what we've been waiting for all year. And, what a great test for Western right out the gate. They got to play the 7-6 IPFW Mastodons, and these guys, they're great. They got a lot of experience. This is going to be a tough test for Western.
Yeah, they were projected first, or to finish first, by the preseason poll with all the coaches and SIDs all picking Fort Wayne to finish first in this conference. Western kind of on the tail end of that, ranked towards the bottom. So like you said, a really good opponent in Fort Wayne coming into this building on the opening night of Summit League basketball. It's sure great to have it back and to enjoy or host the Mastodons here at Western Hall for the one and only time this year.
Yeah, Western trying to get back to their winning ways. They were co-champions of the Summit League just 2 years ago in that 2012-2013 season. They kind of fell off last year because they lost a lot of upperclassmen, a lot of experience, and that seems to be a common trend when it comes to your success in the Summit League. The teams that tend to have that senior leadership really shine when it comes to seedings and tournament time.
Yeah, and that's what Fort Wayne has. They're entering the court right now. They have 3 seniors that will be starting tonight, a junior and then a sophomore who doesn't play like a sophomore, and that guy being Mo Evans. He's in there along with all these other starters in double digits as far as scoring-wise. They all average double figures. Like you said, a lot of experience. They've been here before. They know how to play in the big games, and that's why they have to live up to that projection this season. Is because last year they kind of were under the radar as a team, and they played really well. And now this year they're at the top of the mountain, and everyone's trying to knock them off. So it's that senior leadership that has to keep this team ready to go every night, and you can tell it. They're amped up to play.
And this is going to be a big game for Western. I won't say this is the first true big game they've played all year, because Western's been playing a lot of those games that have been decided by 1 or 2 possessions. It seemed like the first half of the season, or I say the first 6-7 games, they won by 3 points and they lost by 3 points. They don't play too well on the road. We found that out from the non-conference schedule. But they have been able to close out and win games here at home. What are they going to have to do tonight playing against IPFW? Not quite the competition they've been used to playing to, but it seems like they have figured out how to play in tight games.
Yeah, we've been fortunate to see a lot of exciting basketball games here at Western Hall so far this season. A lot of close ones that have come down to last minutes and just some clutch basketball that needs to be played. Western now welcoming Fort Wayne here. If it gets close, Western has to play their game, or at least start out playing that way, and that's playing hard-nosed defense, getting boards, and then running out in transition to try and get easy shots. Because once you get in the half court, there's really not that guy inside that we've seen be able to, flow the offense through. So it's been a lot of standing around the perimeter as far as Western's half court game, and that's not what you want. You want to be able to run in transition to get those points, and then hopefully break down this Macedon team when they come down the floor and play some hard defense. So, like you said, those close games earlier on in this non-conference schedule should help this team out. And you're at home. For the first, you got 3 early conference games all at home. You need to be able to take advantage of that. And with the crowd and playing in a familiar place at Western Hall, you got to take advantage.
Well, let's go back a little bit. You talked about how Western finishes out games offensively. I mean, they're playing a team tonight where all 5 starters average more than 10 points. Every single one of them do. And that's got to be a luxury if you're a head coach. What are they going to have to do?
Only a few teams in the country actually have all starting 5 in double digits. So Western, I expect to hopefully go to a more defensive lineup earlier on in this one, because Fort Wayne can go to anyone and they can expect to get points out of it. So Western's going to have to play really good man defense and just force shots. You want to force those long 2-range jumpers, not really have anyone drive. Fort Wayne got off to a very slow start from 3, just making 3 of 15 last game. So hopefully you can keep them in that trend of not shooting the ball so great from beyond the arc. And if you can force some bad shots from out there, Western can hopefully get out to an early lead.
We're going to step aside now as the playing of the national anthem will be played. And when we come back, we're going to have the opening tip and your starting lineups. Don't go anywhere. You know, Jeff, I say it every game, and that's just a beautiful national anthem. That was just beautiful. All righty, let's go ahead and dive into these starting lineups. We're going to start with the visitors, though. Jeff, take it away.
Well, when you bring out the visiting starting lineups, you notice we talked about the seniors coming out on the floor. Uh, it's going to be Isaiah McCray at guard, also Joe Edwards starting at guard. And the other senior, the redshirt senior, is Steve Forbes, who stands at 6'9", 290. He is a big fellow that Western's going to have to put up with all day. And the other two rounding out the starting five, Mo Evans, that sophomore, averages 10.3 a game. And then Joe Reed, the forward, who likes to get in on the rebound action a lot to help out Forbes so that they can open up him to be more of the offensive guy. So, yeah, 3 seniors, a junior, and then a sophomore round out the starting lineup, and they're all in double figures. So,
very well-rounded team, very balanced team.
Yeah, well-balanced. No one really stands out. Forbes averaging 14 a game, obviously. It stands out just a little bit, but yeah, well-rounded. Anyone, they can go to anyone at any time during the night, and it can be the weapon to step up and be the winning piece of that puzzle.
So now for the starting lineup for the home team, and you know it's going to be a tough test for those Linux, but I think they're up for it. Starting at point guard, number 1, Jabari Sandifer. He's really come into his own these past, 4 or 5 games, really doing it on all aspects of the game. Behind him, another sophomore, Mike McClusick. And then Garrett Covington, Mr. Smooth himself. He is this team's main offensive weapon. He has struggled the last few games, but they look to bounce back. I mean, you always look back to bounce back at home, especially in a big crowd like this, especially, for school not being in session. And then down in the paint tonight, you got Tate Stensgaard and Mo Conde. Those 2 guys have been the starting 2 underneath the hoop all year. Both of them still looking for a great, huge breakout game. They're solid. They're solid post players, but in games like this, you really want to see those guys, the upperclassmen of the starting 5, really excel and show up, I guess you could say.
Yeah, you said it right. The point guard, Jabari Sandifer, Garrett Covington, and then down low, you have Mohamed Khani. Those are the 3 key players to the starting 5. Tate's more of that energizer bunny. He's going to be out with a high-energy guy to play defense down low for the first couple minutes before they start rotating in players. So that Tate comes and tries to set the presence for Western early on. And then McClusick, who, it'd be great to see that guy finally get into a rhythm one of these games, start knocking down some 3-pointers. Because it's hard to get him some open looks, it seems like, of late. And then those open looks, Mike's just missing them. So if McClusick can get on a roll at least a little bit, that's just another threat that this team hasn't seen in a couple of weeks.
All right, well said. I agree completely. And, for the opening tip, you're going to have Conde and you're going to have Reed there in the circle. And, we talked about Tate. He's the energizer bunny. He's the center. And then you got a guy like Forbes. Forbes has got Tate by, 50, 60 pounds and a couple inches. Is it going to be more of an asset that Tate's so much faster? Or is it going to be more of an asset to IPFW that he has such an advantage in the lane?
I say it's got to be advantage Forbes. It's just his size, and that's something that, it seems to be kind of rare with the teams that we've seen come in through Western Hall. You really haven't seen that big guy that can control the paint. And I think it's a complete asset. If you can have someone down there that shoots such a high percentage down there, it's killer.
The opening shot's going to come from Garrett Covington. In and out. He might have gotten hit just a little bit on the hand by McCray, but we're going to play on. But a decent look for Western on their opening offensive possession. And here is the lone sophomore in the lineup, Evans. He's actually their main point guard. Last year, McCray did the point guard duties, but he's stepped in more of a 2 guard, even 3 sometimes for this team. Reed up to Evans. They go inside, and he's immediately double teamed. That ball's on the floor, but it's picked up by McCray. 5 to shoot. Covington, great defense. And it's going to be a deep 3 by Forbes, but that is just picture-perfect defense.
It's exactly what everyone's staying in front of everyone and letting them have the ball at the perimeter with a little bit of space to say, hey, go ahead and take that shot. We're willing to give that up, and no one from Fort Wayne wanted to take that as their first possession.
It's going to be a bounce pass to the baseline to Conde. He's going to finish up off the glass with the kiss for the opening bucket of the game.
Conde can take advantage of Joe Reed. I think he has a little bit more athletic ability than Reed, so if they can find him a couple times down low and set him up, Conde can have a big game just like last time.
Here's Reed now driving in off the give and go. It's off the mark, rebounded by Tate Stensgaard, and he is one of the best defensive rebounders in the conference, maybe even the country. I mean, that's why Western is at the top in defensive rebounding in the conference. It's going to be Conde from about 18 feet off the back iron, rebounded by Evans.
You know, not a bad look. He was open right around the free throw line. Good look.
McCray in and out. That was a decent look, but it looked a lot like Covington's opening three. Just didn't want to go down. Backdoor cut. We got a kick on the floor. It's going to stay with Western. 25 to shoot. So, you know, this is a team that we haven't seen. This is definitely not the team that we saw play against Anderson. This team's working the ball around. They're really doing a great job of moving without the ball as well.
Yeah, they're starting to move around with the basketball, and they're actually working it into McClusick, who seems to be open a little bit and touching the basketball.
It's going to be Sandifer from downtown off the mark. Rebounded by Conde. His putback's off the mark. And then fought and won by McCray.
Conde disappointed that he didn't come down with that shot, but way to get in on the board action. Don't lose confidence there. Keep crashing.
They go inside to Forbes. He's just going to back down Tate. That's going to be a blocking foul. The bucket will count. He's at the line now. Get a chance to make the old-fashioned three-point play.
Hey, the first couple possessions, Western defensively having Conde kind of shade over when they're looking at Forbes is the route that you're going to have to go. And that time, you know, when Reed comes out and Conde has to come out to guard him, that's going to leave Forbes one-on-one down low. And Conde just a little bit late on the help. Kind of left Stensgaard out to dry right up against Forbes. That's a situation you don't want to see, hopefully, too much of the rest of the game.
They're going to try to get a sub into the game, but they do not get it in time. The guy at the bench now waiting to check in, number 10, Max Landis. He's been one of those guys that have been playing in space of Forbes. I mean, he's obviously not the same type of player as McClusick getting a decent look. It's going to be rebounded by Tate, but taken away. And then Forbes tosses it into the second row.
I like this fighting ability of the Western's two bigs here early. Stensgaard and Conde on the offensive glass, continuing that rebounding that they had against Anderson. They're forcing Forbes over the floor. Just the second game back from a injury that sidelined him for 5 or 6 games. Obviously him not looking right. He did make a nice three-point play on one end, but rebounding-wise, he doesn't seem like he's putting up the effort here early on.
Well, now let's take close attention to the matchups they have now. I mean, with Landis checking in the game, head coach Billy Wright countered with J.C. Fuller, who is just an electric bench player for this Leatherneck team, is Covington rising up from 6 feet. We got a great box out by Landis, but it's going to be a foul as Conde was basically in the air when we tried backing him out.
Yeah, Landis just kept driving him back and back till he was out of bounds, and Conde just said enough is enough and got tossed into the air. You know, I like to see Landis's, you know, effort on the glass to try and finally secure a rebound for Fort Wayne, but it was cost him with a foul.
Sandifer from downtown, the point guard.
Nice shot by Sandifer, launching up a three. Him getting hot here early on. Going to be a good start for Western. We're seeing actually a hot start coming out of the gate.
Which is something we're definitely not used to. We hate to call this team a second half team, but that's what they've been, you know, the first 10 games of the year. They go inside to Reed, trying to back down Tate. He lost the handle on the way up, and that is another foul against Stensgaard, and he is already fired up because he's asking what'd he do.
Yeah, that time I thought he just went straight up in the air with it, and Reed just kind of drove right at his hands, and that forces some contact. And now Western going to go to the bench here with Chapman. And, you know, Stensgaard is that high-energy guy, but he does tend to get into foul trouble pretty easily. And now with 2 fouls here in, you know, just about 4 minutes here, got to send him to the bench.
That's a smart play by head coach Billy Wright. You got to have your big guy at the end of the game, so take the hit now.
Right, and it
hopefully
looks like,
you pay for it later.
Yeah, it looks like now Fort Wayne's going to counter and put in Forbes as he's going to check into the scores table. But hopefully Chapman can kind of get into some rhythm with Forbes over on the bench and him having some sort of a matchup advantage, actually.
He's going to hand it off to Covington. Now over to Sandifer, trying to get Evans just away from him. He's playing great man-to-man defense. On the roll, it's Chapman driving in with the floater. Chapman checking in and immediately making a difference as he gives his team a 3-point lead.
Nice play by Chapman. Like I said, go on and get it done early. You got Joe Edwards over on the floor. He's got kind of a matchup advantage with him, or he evens out with him. And that time took it right to the rack. Good points.
They're really working the ball around as McCray takes a three. That'll tie us up at 7-all. McCray showing off his style of play early. He's taking more threes than anybody.
Yeah, if he starts hitting three-pointers, that's just going to be a huge asset that Fort Wayne can use, is that three-point shot to keep Western's defense honest and out of the paint so they can work it inside.
And we got a foul on the baseline. That foul's going to take us to our first immediate timeout. It's going to be issued against McCray. But 5 minutes of basketball in, and this is an exciting game already, 7-7.
Yeah, sitting at 7-7, and the key players coming in with Forbes hitting the three-point play, and then that time the quick three-pointer over from the wing for Fort Wayne has given them a couple big plays to keep them in it offensively, but Western has done it as well. You saw Chapman getting a board, and him as well making a jump or a layup basically from underneath the basket, and then Sanford making that three. So Fort Wayne answering Western's offense right now, shot for shot, and that's what's keeping us tied right now.
And, going back to Forbes, I hate that we talk so much about him, but now that Chapman's in the game, do you feel that he can kind of hold his own a little bit better than Tate can?
Yeah, Chapman has a little bit more meat on him, like as we like to say, and that's Forbes' asset. So I think Chapman is going to be the guy instead of Conde, because I think Conde can kind of play that stretch four and help out a little bit in the paint when he has to. Because I think that's the point when you're going to have to double team Forbes, is when he heads to the paint, starts backing somebody down. Because you're going to need help to guard him. And I think you're going to have to pull Conde off just to give him a little bit of help.
I'm pretty excited to see, though. I hate to be speechless, but I kind of am right now. It's one of those games that, as much as I love calling basketball games, I get caught watching the game because this is great basketball. I mean, I hate to say it so soon, but this is what you like to see, especially in conference play, when you see kind of like a Goliath versus David kind of thing.
Oh yeah, teams giving a little bit extra on the defensive end that we haven't seen yet. Is that that Summit League defense that we like to see, and teams are giving a little bit extra. Western showing up in this matchup.
Great defense played in the paint. McCondy, he had himself an easy look. He just missed it. So back the other way, it's Evans. Wide open look for Max Landis. And heck, if no one's within 10 feet of you, you should make that shot.
Yeah, now if Landis is going to get on fire, like I said, you have a problem. That's 2 threes in a matter of a couple of minutes for Fort Wayne.
Fuller going baseline, trying to create some separation. He's going to get shot blocked, but he's going to be fouled in the process. So that'll send forward the line for not 1 but 2 free throws.
You got to love the penetration by Fuller, but he came up against 2 Fort Wayne defenders. Perhaps a kick outside. Someone got to be open if you're going up against 2 defenders, and that just, that ruins your shot attempt there, is going up against 2 guys. Luckily, does draw the foul to get to the line and keep Western in this one.
Substitution to the floor, Mike McClusick, a.k.a. Clue. He checks back into the game, taking a seat is Mo Conde. So Western really going to a smaller lineup despite having to guard Forbes. But at the same time, IPFW, the only big man they have on the floor is Forbes. So this is actually, now that I'm seeing it, Billy Wright's just kind of matching what he's seeing on the floor from the other team.
Yeah, they come out with these 2 guards, and Western does have a height advantage over these guys.
Yeah, that's a great defensive rebound by Chapman as he had Forbes on his hip. That's going to be blocked and taken right away by Evans as he made a beautiful play on the ball. Now back the other way. It looks like Edwards might have gotten away with the travel, but they're going to call McCray for the travel.
So they circle it over to the other end. Yeah, the ref gave into the travel call that time. That one was close.
So these teams, they still have not yet found their transition game, as we saw a little bit of it right there, but both of them turned the ball over. So they're comfortable in the half court, but they're not in the transition. Normally it's the other way around.
Yeah, well, but Western needs to continue to force those turnovers as Fort Wayne's turned it over a couple of times, and Western's been able to turn it into points.
They go inside to Chapman, drawing a lot of contact, and then you got a couple Mastodons fighting for the board, and it's going to be out of bounds off of Forbes, so it's going to stick down with Western. Yet they got a new shot clock, so 13:44 to play still. It's 9-10 as the Leathernecks trail only by 1.
And we talked about how much McCray likes to get it on those boards and block shots as well. That time he was just fighting with his own teammate for it, and they lost the ball.
As Covington really bit the bullet there, as that was very close to being a turnover. Fuller over to Chapman, elbow line jumper, just off the mark, rebounded by McCray.
And that time it looked like Chapman kind of adjusted his shot midair, and that just really threw him off. It's an elbow jumper, man. Just be up and be confident.
Forbes gets double teamed. Back out to Evans. Good look from 3, but off the mark, rebounded by Fuller. And despite the size from the Mastodons, they've taken a lot of threes as J.C. Fuller knocks in an easy deuce.
Yeah, they struggled from 3 last game, and yeah, they keep shooting those 3-pointers so far here early. Made a couple, but now they're starting to miss a few. And really, their offense usually seems to be circling through Forbes. Really doesn't seem like that's the case tonight.
McClusick just getting back down. The shot's off the mark. Another shot's off the mark. That might be partially blocked by Clue. He's now looking to push the pace. Shovel handoff to Covington. Driving in. He finds Chapman. Spinning off of Forbes. And he gets the home field bounce.
Yeah, you gotta like that confidence from Chapman. You're looking outside, had nothing, so I'm gonna take this thing to the rack. Nice little spin move right to the hoop. Not an easy jump, not an easy shot by any means, but he does make it, gets the bounce and gets it in.
That makes the score 13-10 as Western really coming out, I don't want to say hot, but they're definitely shooting the ball pretty well here in the early going. It's going to be Gunina from downtown. It's off the mark, rebounded by Covington. He's now looking to push the pace. Out to McClusick. Back to Covington. And that bounce just barely out of bounds, and it's going to stay with Western. That's going to send us to our next media timeout. 11:47 to play. Western now on top by 3 points. And going back to what you said earlier, I like what you said about Chapman. He's the guy that you want to see come off the bench and play well, but I mean, he's doing a little more than that right now.
Yeah, he's playing really good defense down on Forbes, and everyone on Western's defense is playing well. It seems like the Fort Wayne Mastodons offense is just kind of, they're passing it around the perimeter and trying to work it inside to Forbes to open things up, and they are just not working it in there. And that's where you're seeing all these, straight up 3-pointers being shot. It's because if they can't work it inside, they got nowhere else to go with the basketball. No one's really cutting or slicing into the hole or picking around, trying to open things up. It's really Forbes or bust, or we're going to pop a 3. And, when you're shooting not such a good break percentage from 3, it really hurts you. Well, even though they started out hot, they're really starting to struggle here down the stretch, and I think Western's starting to step up their D to play into the hands. If they're going to start popping the 3, hey, we're going to start guarding you out top if you guys can't penetrate.
No, and at the beginning of the game, Western was basically challenging him to take the 3-pointer. And, they've completely changed their minds about that, it almost seems. Now that they realize that Forbes is not going to be as key of a piece to this offense that they once thought.
All right, as we're looking here, 2 of 6 from 3 after starting 2 of 2. So they missed a few in a row, and that's really hurt everything. Western already 5 points off of turnovers. So if you can continue to get some steals, get some boards, and run with it, I think you're going to be in good shape, because that's when Western's starting to get these mismatch. We saw the pick and roll work a little bit. Sandifer with the pull at Jay right around that 3-point line, just straight over Forbes instead of keeping a roll with it. If you're going to shoot that jumper over him, you go ahead and do it, because the more you drive and get down into the paint, it's going to be a much harder shot for you. Fort Wayne is doing a good job of collapsing in on the basket to stop those drives.
It will be Western basketball. They've got 25 to shoot. They go to Chapman, top the key. He's got Gunina on him. Here's Covington. Kick out wide open. Nice stop and little pop from Clue as he had Edwards jump into his own bench there.
Just a little pump fake. Let me roll it over. Hit that mid-range. Good shot by Clue.
And that is the kind of thing that you see them practicing in warm-ups. I I mean, that is identical. I mean,
That
and,
spot on the floor. And just, yeah, pump fake, run it over.
and it's going to be McCray showing off a little bit on the drive, as he's now leading all scorers with 5.
And McCray, no doubt the most athletic guy on the floor, is going to be a tough matchup for anyone.
Sandifer from 18 feet, just inside.
And that's a guy that's feeling it. He's 3 for 3 from the field right now, making all his jumpers. That's an asset that Western has if he can start hitting jumpers.
Edwards looking for Summer to go with the basketball. Kicking it out to McCray. Now up top, now over. Really working the ball around the outside. Edwards trying to drive in on McClusick, lost the handle. 10 seconds to shoot. Chapman staying out on the perimeter. They're going inside to Reed. He's got 3 seconds to shoot the ball. Great defense played by Sandifer, as that was a huge mismatch.
Not letting Reed get into the paint. Sandifer playing big with 5 seconds left on the shot clock. Steps up, makes him shoot a tough fadeaway jumper. That's the shot you want.
Chapman driving in. He gets it taken away by Reed. Here's Evans leading the fast break. And we got a blocking foul. As Evans is...
You know, I think Sandifer was moving a little bit that time. I don't think he got his feet set in that really, it seemed like a quarter of a second that he had. I think good call, good block foul. On the other end, Chapman with that turnover. You know, I love the guy and I love his aggression, but he doesn't have the handles to be doing that kind of a thing, trying to cross someone over to get into the paint. It's just not going to work out.
And from what we see from number 44, Reed, their guy coming towards us now, I mean, he doesn't seem like the kind of guy who plays a lot of posts. He seems more of a shooter. And, you know, you tend to not be able to dribble around guys of his size and his, I don't know, awareness, I guess you'd say.
Right.
Despite having a mismatch in the paint, he should realize that he needs to be at the block before he does anything like that.
Right. If you're Chapman, you want to be taking him in the post, man. You have the advantage. Use it.
So we're going to substitutions again. We're going to see Jamie Badish, who has played very little. We didn't even touch the action, really, in the Anderson game. And then Mo County also checking back in. And it looks like if Evans sinks the second one, it is up and good. So that'll be now a 3-point game. Evans will check out. Checking into the game for him, getting his first minutes of the game, is number 12, Michael Calder. He's got the responsibilities at guarding Mr. Sandifer.
That's what they need. They need some fresh legs guarding Jabari, who's Western's leading scorer right now.
Sandifer going baseline. He gets double teamed. Skipped over to Badish. Wide open look for 3. Off the front of the iron, and then it's going to be rebounded by McCray, but Western really attacking that offensive glass early. Landis now from the corner. He'll knock in another one, as he's now 2 for 2 behind the arc.
Landis just really quiet but deadly from the corner, hitting these threes. As he's just been sitting over there all game, and he's just knocking them down when he gets the chance.
That's going to be swatted out of bounds as Sandifer had the wide open lane, but I don't even think he saw Reed.
Yeah, Sandifer continues to wait for that pass. When he comes off that pick, he just had such an open lane. He used that speed to get right to the hole and look to attack. And instead, you know, he keeps waiting, and then he saw the hole, and it looked like it took him a little bit too long to react to that open space. And that would allow Reed to shuffle over and get a piece of that basketball.
Badish off the screen. Back out to Chapman. He's now going to give that ball off to somebody else. And we got a foul on Evans as he was holding on to the jersey of Covington. That's a no-no. You can't do that.
Yeah, if you're going to get a piece of the jersey, you're going to get called for that every time. I know your hand just gets kind of mixed up in there sometimes, these baggy jerseys, but, you know, you get caught for it.
So that'll be the first foul on Evans, team 4th. As we are now at the 9-minute mark, 17-17 is your score, as this has been a back-and-forth basketball game. Both teams really going to their benches. Chapman using the spin. He got the push. Bucket and one.
Jalen Chapman, that's where we want him. Right on the block, backing down Reed. And just takes the contact and floats that one up and in there and gets the and one here, or at least a chance for it.
And head coach John Kaufman, these Mastodons immediately go into his bench as he realizes that Reed cannot stay with Chapman. I mean, he's starting to realize that Chapman has a little more meat on his bones, like we said.
Yeah, who would have thought Chapman would be the bigger presence so far down low, or the bigger weapon? And now the Mastodons have to play big and try and get back into this one, or at least take over the paint again.
Calder going over to Edwards. Badish closely guarding Landis. Edwards shot fake, and we got a travel in there. As he was just a little bit out of control, he thought Conde hit him. That'll be a turnover.
And there was a little bit of contact, but you got to try and regain yourself after that. I think he just kind of flopped and expected the foul and kind of gave up on it. And no, my friend, you don't hear a whistle. You got to keep playing.
Conde over to Sandifer. Now Conde on the roll. That is just way off. As he might have gotten fouled on the process, but you normally don't see guys like Conde missing that bad.
And he just had too much speed and was thrown up with his right hand on the left side. It was just an awkward shot, but a good feed by Sandifer. A really good look to Conde, who was striking over to the basket.
Skipped on over to Calder from downtown. Off the mark, rebounded by Conde, so that three-point basket still the Achilles heel for these Mastodons. Covington going back door. High arcing shot, it's going to be rebounded by Forbes.
Yeah, he threw a lollipop up at that one. That one just a high arcing shot, something you don't really see from Garrett.
Edwards now from downtown. Off the front of the iron. Forbes put back off the mark, picked up by Badish.
You know, if you're Fort Wayne, you just have to continue to go up and pull up these threes if Western's going to give them to you, and hope to start making them, because that's what Western's been giving them. Dangerous open looks like we saw last game against Anderson, but still this time the opponent not making them.
Badish handoff to Covington, who has still been pretty quiet. He now drives in. Nice handoff to Conde, and that is an easy bucket.
Even took a push, I thought, from Landis. Could have been called a foul, but no call. Good finish by Conde, and a really good feed from Covington.
So Covington not doing it with the stroke, but more or less the dime as Conde knocks one away.
Yeah, Fort Wayne's going to pay attention to Covington, and if he can draw defenders, Covington might as well use his penetration skills to get to the hoop and then dish that thing away. That's what it seems like Fort Wayne's doing, is they're going right after Covington if he's going to get the basketball, and he can just go ahead and dish that thing out and hope that guys are making shots. You see McClusick go ahead and toss one up. Sandifer's been doing a good job, and Conde and Chapman starting to get scrap points down low. It's really starting to work out. That's why Western got a 4-point lead.
And you know what? We talked a lot about that Western was just a solely jump shooting team last game against Anderson. Starting to see a little bit of the genius of head coach Billy Wright. He forced the ball inside so much that game that they didn't really shoot the ball. He was prepping his team for this game. I mean, it's been obvious up on the scoreboard so far, just like you said.
Yeah, it's been a lot more even out. They've been feeding the ball inside, sure, because they're coming off that momentum from the Anderson game, but they can still shoot the rock. McClusick's still a great jump shooter. Sandifer pulling up, picking and popping whenever he can. So, yeah, you go back and lean on that jump shooting when you have to, but you keep grinding that ball inside, and it's worked out so far tonight.
So leading the way for both teams for Fort Wayne with 6 points. It's Max Landis, and that's coming off his 2 3-pointers. Those are only 2 shots he's taken. And leading the way for Western, Mr. Chapman off the bench with 6 points.
Yeah, 6 points for Chapman. Sandifer, that only got 5 points, only made 2 baskets thus far, but it's been a loud couple of shots that he's pulled up and made. He's also been making plays. He's got 4 boards, leads. Actually, sorry, that's Conde. I apologize. But each team just trying to find that 3-point stroke, and after Fort Wayne started out hot, they're really not consistently making the shot, even though they've had it open.
So Western kind of sticking with this bigger sized lineup. Forbes gets it taken away by Conde. That's that help defense right there. Fuller getting a screen from Conde. It's going to be Chapman. just off the mark. He made a great move, but it just didn't go down.
Good move, just got to be able to finish with that. Good to go off the glass, just kind of misjudged a little bit too much power behind that one.
Edwards back on over, skipped over to Reed, now into the corner for Landis. Head coach Kaufman just yelling, keeping it moving. And they catch a break there. Reed now driving in. Just kind of tossed it up there, and that seems a lot like the foul that got called against Stensgaard about 10 minutes ago. I mean, Reed just kind of backs down the guy. I mean, Conde and Stensgaard, they both have their hands up. I mean, what's the deal there?
It's really been one of the more important matchups to be watching right now is Reed and Conde because, you know, Conde's in helping double team Forbes, and that's leaving Reed wide open, and it's kind of leaving it up to Reed to try and make a play for Fort Wayne because he's the one guy on the floor that's got room to work with. And they tried to feed him a little bit earlier on the possession. He was wide open, which went right through his hands, and that time Reed able to back down Conde and get a little contact to draw a foul. But he's really got to be that, come out and emerge as that leading scorer. We talked about anyone can do it. Reed has really got to be that guy. And he hasn't really shot the ball particularly well or abused that matchup so far.
You know, but he does feel pretty confident as he goes 2 of 2 at the line. Western now looking to answer. It's a 2-point game. Hand off to Sandiford. Driving in. He kicks it to Chapman. He's got Forbes on him. Kick out. Shot fake. What a great play. As Conde again getting the easy garbage bucket.
And just pulls the big guys away from the basket and then bounces one in right to Conde. And he finishes.
Great defense on the ball as McClusick getting it done. Now here's Conde again underneath the hoop, but he's going to kick it out. Here's Covington. Yeah, that's an easy travel call. Easy travel call.
Smart play by Conde. It was a good job on the fast break to notice that you had numbers, but just had both of Fort Wayne's big guys right in between him and the basket. Good thing for him to bring that ball right back out. And then, yeah, Covington, you know, just wanted to hopefully have that man advantage for a split second longer, but he just needed to take that dribble and didn't do it.
Western sticking with the same 5, but IPFW checks back McCray. Reed taking a 3 as he rattles that one home.
That's something you don't want to see if you're Billy Wright. If Reed can just sit at the three-point line while Conde's in helping in the paint, has to be a lot of range, and you're going to have to respect Reed from the three-point line.
Sandifer off his screen. He finally misses from downtown. And he's been pretty solid up until then. McCray loses the basketball. Here's Conde out in the open field. He's going to convert the layup as Reed was the only line of defense.
And now you're seeing Conde come to life with a couple of points here. And we saw this in the last game. It was Conde, then Chapman, then back to Conde to finish the game out. And we're seeing some of that here in the first half.
And we got another travel from Edwards as he has been in the majority of the game. And, you know, and I hate to put down a player, but, I mean, he's been turning the ball over a lot. He hasn't been doing a whole lot offensively. And it's not like he's guarding Garrett Covington. You know, he's guarding one of Western's, you know, lesser offensive threats, and that's Mike McClusick.
Yeah, well, you look at this Fort Wayne bench, really haven't played a whole ton of big minutes, and none of these guys really coming off the stat sheet. A big bucket for Mike McClusick from downtown. Finally hitting a big shot.
Clue making it a 6-point game, the biggest lead Western's had. Forbes getting double teamed, kicking it out to Evans, now into the corner to Edwards. He's going to slow things down. They go inside to Forbes. They kick out to Reed again for another 3. As Joe Reed, he may be tall, but that big man, he can get the 3 ball. Wow.
Yeah, Steve Forbes kind of gave him that look back down the court like, hey, we got that all day, man. If we can continue to make that and work that to Reed outside.
Chapman driving in. He gets blocked by Forbes. He's looking for the foul, but he doesn't get anything. McCray from downtown. That is barely off the backboard. Here comes Sandiford. A lot of contact. And it looks like they're going to call a media timeout as McCray is still on the floor.
And I think Reed maybe might have an injury.
And McCray, he was actually the guy who took that three. And
oh yeah, he got a player down over there. That's Isaiah McCray, who's down right in front of the press row area, right by Western's bench. That's what's going to force the timeout there.
so that'll make an automatic media timeout. So with 2:48 to play here in the first half, it's a three-point game, 28-25, as Western clinging to a three-point lead here at home. But I mean, if McCray, if he's done, if he's out, I mean that's a huge blow.
Yeah, that's
these
going to be
Mastodons.
a big blow to this Mastodon team. We talked about his athletic ability. What he's been able to do for Fort Wayne is help with the down low play. Because if you're going to have, Reed's down there, but he's more of a jump shooter, stretch four kind of a player, and McCray can help out down there with his athletic ability. And, he's getting blocks and boards so far in this one. So, yeah, big blow for Fort Wayne. He's a big weapon to have. And, he's been really good at the intangibles. He's got 5 points for Fort Wayne last we checked. And really, yeah, he's a really fast player as well. He's been pushing the ball in transition all day.
And he is still on the ground. They have 3 or 4 different trainers over there looking just to see what's going on. He's right in front of the scores table, so we have to think that he maybe tripped up on one of his ankles coming down from that three, or he got a little bit of contact. Either way, he is not in any position to play.
Yeah, could have been contact, or perhaps in that fast break, that game was moving pretty quick for a couple of minutes there, and anything can happen over in the open court when you're flying, at full speed down the sideline.
He is up on his own will, so it's great to see. And from the way he's limping, I would have to say he rolled an ankle or something. Either way, he's going to have to get taped up before he can probably return to the action. Because as of right now, I don't even think he can run.
Yeah, he's at least able to get out on his own power and walk around a little bit. That's promising, at least. Hopefully it's not anything too serious, and he'll be back for the second half. And now if you're Western, you still got a game to play here. You still got to close out here with 2:48 here remaining in the half.
So checking into the game for IPFW in McCray's place, that's Mr. Landis. So another 3 threat. Evans really working well off the screen and finishing high off the glass as that sophomore. I mean, just a big game there.
Something we haven't seen too much of is the drive game from these guards. They really have not been able to get to the hoop.
McClusick needing somewhere to go with the basketball. It's now in the hands of Fuller. Driving in. A lot of contact. He kind of floats one up there. And IPFW throws it away as Edwards was open on the fast break. But these Mastodons, they're kind of playing like they haven't played together yet.
It seems really messy is what it is. And it could very easily be Steve Forbes, who has been out with injuries, and him back in the lineup. If you're relying on a guy for most of the season, and then you got to work a game plan without him, it really changes up your style of play.
Western getting a second crack at it on the offensive rebound by Chapman and Conde. Conde from about 15 off the mark, rebounded by Evans, who was actually leading all players with 6 rebounds. He's now driving in, stop and pop. And that rolls on in home. And that will give IPFW their first lead for quite some time, as Western has led for 12 minutes or more of this basketball game.
And now Fort Wayne gets up, and now we're seeing the guard play from Fort Wayne taking center stage, just being aggressive, using their speed. One guy got to the hole, another guy with a straight-up jumper. So that's got them right back into this one, and that puts pressure back on Western. The guards have to be responsible and play some defense. I know he got a height advantage over these guys, but they're a little bit shorter and a little bit quicker than Western's guards. So you got to be able to yes, give them that room and respect. I mean, you can't respect their shot too much. You need to give them just a little bit of room and not be right up on them to where they can blow by you. Because I know that the ball's been working inside and out, and that's the way they've been playing up to this point. But now they're trying to change it up, and it's worked out so far.
So out of the timeout, Western's going to be going with Conde, Sandefur, Chapman, Fuller, and McClusick. McClusick going inside to Chapman. He gets double teamed out to McClusick. Shot fake going baseline out to Chapman. Skipped over to Sandefur from downtown. Off the mark, rebounded by Landis. They go inside to Forbes. Double teamed. Here's Reed from downtown. Barely grazing the rim, rebounded by Conde. Shot fake, but McClusick wisely passes it up. We're now at 30 seconds left in the half. Fuller from downtown. He thought he got fouled. And we're going to have a timeout called, as the shot clock has been turned off. 24.8 seconds left here in the half, as IPFW's got a 1-point lead.
McClusick just passed up in that three, and I would have liked to see him take it. It was kind of, it was in rotation with the basketball. It was in with the flow of the play. We're all pushing the basketball up, and it just got tossed out to McClusick. He had all the momentum going with it, and he hit that one earlier on. So you want to be able to see him take a couple more attempts, and if he was just a little bit open, I say go ahead and give it to him. He passed that one up, and that turned into kind of a sloppy three from Sandefur over towards the same spot. But, you'd like to see the guy take on that shot. And now Western going to have to come out and play some defense here as Fort Wayne is just drawing something up. The shot clock has been turned off, so they got all 24.8 seconds to use. I'd like to think that they would be able to cycle this ball around in order to get an open shot, because they do have a good chunk of time. So Western comes out with Sandefur, and Covington does check into the game for McClusick. Kind of surprisingly, Klusick a little bit better defender than Covington, but nevertheless, he is on the floor for this possession, a little bit taller, so hopefully he's going to use that height.
Evans is going to back things up. He's going to take it on over to Edwards, trying to kill some clock before they have to actually run their play. As we now got 13. He's going to get a high ball screen from Forbes. And Chapman strips him. He's now leading the break. And it's going to actually be a turnover, but Chapman making a huge defensive play there.
I know you made a good defensive stand like a guard making that steal, but you get the ball, give it over to a guard, get that outlet pass going. He continued to play like a guard, dribble it down the floor and through a turnover, but a good defensive possession by Jalen Chapman. Just to speak to how he played in the first half, on the offensive end, getting some big points and then playing some big D for Western Illinois, and that's what's really kept them in this game is the play from their bigs, Mohamed Conde, as well as Chapman, who have played some really good defense and have kept this game really close.
Yeah, so your halftime score, 28 Western, 29 IPFW. So the ideal start to conference basketball here in the Summit League. For Jeff Marta, I'm Drew Hoffman. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have some half-court analysis from Mr. Marta and some halftime stats. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Western Hall. Drew Hoffman, Jeff Marta with you here on the call for some Western basketball. We're opening up conference play tonight as the Mastodons of IPFW strolled into town, and looking up the half, at the half here, the scoreboard, it's showing great basketball. It's 29-28 as IPFW with a 1-point lead. And looking at these stats, Western came out and played their style of basketball. They're not shooting amazing from the field, but neither is Fort Wayne. What's sticking out at you?
No team shooting well, and no team really wanting to play the game that they wanted to, or expected to at least. Fort Wayne's really coming out and shooting from the outside. Really not getting a ton of, just 6 points in the paint in the first half, which is something that we didn't think would happen when a team comes out here with a 6'9", 290-pound forward, that averages 15 a game. You know, you're not expecting them to just score 6.5 when they have such weapons or such a height advantage that they could use as a weapon. Western's showing up down low, and then offensively for Western, they're just working it inside, which is something we didn't think would happen either. You know, they're dominating the paint. They got 14 points in the paint, and that's coming from Chapman and Conde, who are, you know, are two guys that are leading the team in scoring. Chapman with 6, Conde with 8. So Western's been able to slow the game down and pound the ball inside, and they've really benefited from Fort Wayne. They've come out with 9 turnovers in the first half. That's something that they cannot do in the second half if they want to get back in or keep the lead that they have. Western continually has to play good defense, get the steals, and force these turnovers to get the ball back and run in transition to stay in this one.
Starting in the second half for Western, you're going to see Tate Stensgaard. He checks back into the starting lineup as he was one of the original starters, but he got 2 early fouls. Accompanying him, you got Covington, Sandiford, McClusick, who had a great first half, and then Mokani, who had a superb first half. 8 points, 5 rebounds. I mean, he's on his way to a triple-double. Sorry, a double-double, excuse me. As he just basically is doing all the right things. Not too much, not too little. Edwards back to Reed. They go inside to Forbes. And he got himself into a lot of trouble, and he basically just had to throw it off of Conde to save himself
Just
there.
got hit with a throw it off Conde. And, that's why Stensgaard is in the game right now. He's an aggressive player that, may draw too many or make too many fouls, and that's why he's in the game, is to get some good minutes against Forbes so that Fort Wayne cannot jumpstart their offense by going inside to him.
And we got an early foul against Forbes as he had, I want to say, Stensgaard on his inside, and he over the back, really. I mean, it's an easy call.
Yeah, over the back, a little bit of pushing down low there as they were both trying to fight for position, and just gets that arm extended. You're going to call that foul when you see that arm come out. That's exactly what happened.
Conde just begging for the basketball.
He had him for a split second and a little bit longer, just couldn't get it to him.
McClusick, dribble handoff. He's got 7 to shoot now. Covington spinning in. And we got a late whistle as Covington hit the deck. That's going to be a foul against Reed, as he's kind of getting a taste of his own medicine, as he got a lot of fouls just like that in the first half, called for him.
Yeah, it's going to be Reed's second foul, too. It's Covington just getting that call, and like you said, a late whistle. And yeah, he just hit the deck hard as he was driving a little bit out of control with that spin move, hard spin move to the basket.
Covington knocks in the first. That'll tie us up at 29 all.
That's something that he did last game, too. Just really couldn't hit jumpers during the game. But could get to the line, and that's what he's doing near start the second half.
Those 2 points are actually Covington's first 2 points of the game, as he was 0 for 3 in the first half, taking no free throws either. Evans, kick out to Reed, now into the corner for McCray, who checked back in. He seems to be doing okay.
It's surprising to see Reed pass up that 3-point opportunity after he made 2 open ones in the first half.
Conde with a big putback as no one put a body on him. Wow.
Forbes kept back or had a good box out going on Stensgaard. It was just too far away from the basket. That opened things up for Conde right underneath, and a good slam back home.
Western really scrambling. And Conde getting a great rebound, and Forbes just wrapping him up and tossing him into the ground. That'll be an easy foul call, as Forbes has now picked up 2 quick fouls to start the second half.
And Conde just had him, Forbes just had Conde wrapped up, and Conde was just trying to get himself away from him, and that's how he went to the floor. So good board by Conde. Good job on both ends. Got a rebound on one, got a throw down on another end. Back-to-back boards on back-to-back possessions. Good job.
So only 2 fouls on Forbes. He will take a seat. Checking into the game for him is Landis. Here's Stensgaard from the corner. That is that's an air ball right there.
That's an air ball shot you don't want to see him taking.
Evans, stop and pop 3. Rebounded by Tate Stensgaard. He'll get the ball into the hands of the very Reliable Sandiford. He'll set up the offense. Covington, top of the key. He's going to screen. Driving in now. Using his size, banks it home as he goes right into the body of Reed.
That's all set up by a good pick, good hard pick set by Tate Stensgaard at the top of the key to allow Covington a little bit of room to drive to the basket. A great finish with 3 Macedon defenders on him.
Shovel pass underneath to Reed from McCray. Evans. As they pick up an easy bucket and a much needed bucket as Western was trying to pull away. Off the back of Landis, it ends up in the hands of McClusick, back over to Sandiford. He's going to take the three. No one's guarding him. Hand down, man down.
Down it goes. Just got enough room right there. Reed had him between him and the basket, and his defender actually had him next to him.
McCray driving in. It's going to be taken away by Sandiford. He finds a wide open Conde as he just flat out missed a layup.
Conde, you need to throw that sucker down. Put 2 hands on the basketball and dunk it in, Drew. There's no one around him. Why not? You're a big guy.
Western faithful still remaining very positive despite the easy bucket that was missed, and we got a foul underneath the hoop.
Anyone that's 6'7", be throwing that one down, and he knows what he did. He knows he made a mistake. Just missing that lay-in.
Covington and Stensgaard are going to take a seat. Checking into the game is Chapman and Fuller.
Even though Stensgaard had that air ball, he set that defensive tempo for Western, and that's why he starts out games. He doesn't give much to you offensively. Did have that air ball, but played tough defense and gives Western right now a 6-point lead. He had a big part of that.
Evans from downtown, in and out, rebounded by Reed, who was just in the right place, really.
Yeah, right place, right time. Good board by Reed and good putback. Chapman just caught a little bit off guard there.
Fuller, top the key to Chapman. Now over to Sandiford. Sandiford driving in, kick out to McClusick. He takes a three. Bang, bang, bang.
And we might have another one of those bang bad to that one. Just gets fouled near the corner. Into the Western bench he went, knocked that one down with limited space.
And McClusick, knocking down the tray. Had a chance to make the old, no, that's not the old-fashioned, I don't even know, the new-fashioned 4-point play. I don't even know what you want to call it. Either way, Western's got a 7-point lead, a chance to make it an 8-point lead. But going back to McClusick, he's the kind of guy that, he's a sharpshooter. You know that. He just needs to take his shots. He doesn't, though. He realizes that, he doesn't realize what his role on the team yet is. And tonight he's realizing that he needs to be an offensive threat.
Yeah, he kind of gets the same minutes as Stensgaard, to where he starts a half, and then if he doesn't get a look, he's going to go to the bench. Because, it's hard to get yourself started when you're only taking 1 or 2 shot attempts a half. And right now, that's his second 3-pointer of the game. That one was a big one to put Western up. Now up by 7. And, it's more of the same from the first half that we're seeing here in the second half. The turnovers that Fort Wayne is allowing Western to get out and transition a little bit quicker. And just some missed shots here to start the second half for Fort Wayne. 2 of 7 to start. 0 of 3 from the 3-point line. That's something they got going early, but really have gone away from it. They just haven't been able to make that shot, and that's slowing them down big time.
And the exact worst thing has happened for Fort Wayne as Western is lighting up the sky right now. 4 of 7 and a half, 2 of 2 behind the 3-point line, 2 of 2 from the free throw line, so they're shooting amazingly. And that's why they got this 7-point lead, as McClusick now at the line, a chance to make it 8 points. And Forbes has checked back into the game as McClusick converting to make it 4 points. Evans over to McCray. Top the key to Landis. Now to Edwards. Trying to get that ball inside to Forbes. Landis from downtown off the mark. Rebounded by Chapman. That's rebound number 3 for the big man.
And Landis landing awkwardly near the Macedon bench, he comes up limping a little bit.
Fuller wide open for three. That's short, rebounded by Landis. Decent look, just really could not convert. Edwards from downtown. That's short as well, as they're both trading buckets, but not in a good way.
Yeah, Western really exposing IPFW tonight. They can't hit that outside shot.
Sandifer getting a screen from Chapman. That's a hard screen. Elbow line jumper, he gets fouled. And what's the number one rule, Jeff? Never foul a jump shooter. That's a silly foul.
Especially when he's mid-flight like that and he's just too far from the basket. That's a deep two that Sandifer was attempting, and you go up and foul him, just a little slap on the arm. Gonna force a free throw here for Sandifer.
He misses the first free throw as Covington will check into the game for McClusick. Evans will check out. Checking back in is Calder. As Calder came off the bench in the first half and put some pretty good minutes on the board for the Mastodons. Sandifer's second one will find the center as Western now out to their largest lead of the game, 42-33, 9 points, and we got a timeout.
Yeah, Drew, you talked about how they were trading baskets, but in a bad way. Just both teams missing. Western has to be able to take advantage of these missed shots by IPFW and turn those into points to extend the lead, and they've done that there with those two nice free throws from Sandifer to put them up by 9 points, excuse me. So right now, if you're Fort Wayne, you know, you'd like to see them pound the ball inside more with Forbes, who doesn't seem to really be getting the ball offensively at all. And I think that's just Western playing some good D and giving them that outside shot. And I mean, they're doing all the right things as far as passing that thing around the arc, getting it to the open guy, and letting them toss up the three, but it just hasn't worked. So I think maybe if you continue to kick it out to that open guy around the arc and have him drive, you know, that might be a little different setting that Western hasn't seen, is them driving to the hoop instead of them just taking these open threes, and it's way easier to close out a shooter than chase them down to the basket.
Yeah, I mean, when you're not working the ball around, I keep hearing Kaufman, head coach Kaufman over here just yell, work the ball, move it, you know. He's wanting his team to be more involved other than just, like you said, just getting the open look. Yeah, it's great. But, I mean, if only two guys touch it on a possession, you take the open shot every time, you're not living up to your team's offensive potential if you don't try to get that better looking shot.
Right, and you got to go with what's working as well. I mean, if you want to say keep shooting, but if you're only shooting 10% from the three-point arc, you can't keep throwing up those shots.
Yeah.
You need to find something else that'll work, and if it is driving to the hoop and tossing up a couple floaters or starting to back some guys down and work some mismatches, that's what you have to go ahead and do, because right now you see in the inbounds pass, Chapman and Conde both down on Forbes, who's allowed Edwards to come out and get that ball.
Yeah, you really don't want to live and die from the three in the first conference game of the year as Edwards takes another three as he finally knocks in a shot. And those are his first points of the game. That'll make it a 6-point game, 42-36.
Yeah, him finally knocking one down. Western really not paying a whole ton of attention to him defensively. And that time Edwards finally makes his name known, knocks down a tough three.
Chapman, top of the key, driving in, and we got to travel. That's an easy call.
Yeah, tried to work his way back into the paint to get an open look. And yeah, just an easy travel call. You know, if you don't have something open, by the time you're at the free throw line, that's a ball that Chapman needs to dish out because you're not going to be taking Forbes to the hole.
And now we got a foul on Chapman on the other end. And he had a nice show on the screen, but just a little too much body. And that's the second team foul, Chapman's first. McCray, back up top to Edwards. He takes another three. Off the back iron, rebounded by Forbes. Calder now in the corner. He's got a mismatch. And they're now going back to the original. They're going to Forbes by himself in the lane. And they're going to get Chapman for another foul.
And now I think you got to think about taking him out of the game. You know, a travel and now two fouls within about 30 seconds of each other. That's just a bad stretch of basketball. Wright is going to stick it out. He does like that matchup that Chapman gives him, but he's got to play some smart basketball.
And one of the few rare qualities that you see in a big man is good free throw shooting, but Forbes has just been dynamite from the stripe. As he's now 3 for 3. He makes it a 4-point game, 42-38. And going back to what you said, not a good stretch of basketball. I mean, Western realizes their lead is dwindling, but at the same time, you got to realize that you're still on top. I mean, you can't play like you're down by 15 when you're leading the game.
Right. And you need to continue to stay aggressive and work the basketball as well if you're a Western. And Garrett, really your superstar, now finally making himself a basket fading away from the hole. It was about time to see him see one go through and to get it going, because you need some points out of your leading scorer here.
He is now 2 of 6 from the field, and that's perfect. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. The guy's averaging over 15 a game. You need every bit of that 15 as we got to travel as Forbes. That big man came a-tumbling down there. Wow.
Yeah, he came down. Everyone in the gym wanted to call that one a travel.
So yet another turnover for these Mastodons, as they definitely are not playing well here at Western Hall, and we got another foul. This time it's going to be against Forbes as Chapman. He did exactly what he should have done the first time. You know, he got that travel on the first call for trying to avoid Forbes. That time, went right at him.
Yeah, go right at the guy. And that's all he can really do is stand up tall and stick his big paw up there and try and get a piece of it. And that time he got a piece of Chapman's wrist.
Chapman misses the first free throw. Checking into the game for the big man Forbes is Joe Reed, who's leading all scorers with 13 last time we checked. But he's been the main offensive threat as Chapman goes over 2 at the line. And that could be pretty big. I mean, if you're going to get free throws, when the game is close like this, you got to convert.
Yeah, you got to make those.
Chapman called with his 3rd foul. As it's going to be a blocking foul as Edwards went right at him. It almost looked like he was sitting there waiting for him, but they said he was sliding his feet.
Yeah, I got to see. I think you got to get him out of this game just to give him some break points on the bench, maybe rest up a little bit, and maybe throw in a McClusick or maybe another forward. Maybe you throw in Stensgaard. I know it's a little bit early for him to come in here in the second half as far as the way Wright has worked his rotation in, but you got to try and change it up because, like you said, the lead's dwindling.
And exactly what you said, Jeff, is Clue will check back into the game. Taking a seat will be Chapman. So Western go into a smaller lineup to kind of match IPFW.
Yeah, match up what they're doing. And that's what you got to do is match that lineup, and now Western can kind of take advantage to some mismatches here.
Another foul as this one's going to be against McCray. And that's foul number 7, so that'll send Covington to the line.
7 fouls already here in the first half, or here in the second half. We still got 12 minutes of basketball to play, and Western's sitting pretty in the bonus. But like you said, you got to be able to make these free throws in a big conference game like this.
Covington, nothing but nylon on the first, making it a 5-point contest.
And like we talked about, Garrett struggling from the field, but still able to connect on these free throws has been big for Western.
Second one on its way off the front iron, rebounded by McCray. Calder getting away with the travel.
How many steps do you get anymore? Looked like he took all 3 and another one.
As everybody in here yelling at the referees as that was an obvious call. Edwards at the top of the key. He's going to get swatted away as Conde from the weak side.
Nice hit by Conde to help out on D and swat away that one. And now just 9 seconds left on the shot clock when IPFW returns here, so not a whole ton of time to go ahead and play around with it. Good move over by Conde to go ahead and help out on D.
45-40 is your score as Western still on top by 5 points Their biggest lead of the game was 9, and that was only a few minutes ago, but they've struggled here as of late, and I don't want to blame it on the play of Chapman because he's playing his heart out, but he just couldn't catch a break.
Yeah, just a couple of bad possessions in a row, and you hate to get in one of those streaks like that. You're just, just nothing's going right, and that's exactly what happened. Turn the ball over a couple times and a couple of fouls that have allowed IPFW to get back into this one. And now, like we talked about, it's going to be a little bit faster-paced game because now both bigs are kind of out of it right now, and both teams are working with the smaller lineup. But I think that can play into Western's favor. I mean, you talk about some of these guards for Fort Wayne, Mo Evans and McCray, just 6 foot apiece. And then you got Calder coming off the bench as well. He's just 6'1". So I think, guys like Fuller, he's 6'3". Sanford is 6'1", and then Covington at 6'5". You have a little bit of height over these guards, which I think can help you out. I know you're not as fast as them, but you can be a little bit more physical with these guys and work it in a little bit more than you have been. So, and we talked about Reed as well, who's the big on the floor right now for the Mastodons. He's really more of a shooter, not really a post player. So Western can go ahead and take care of some of these, some of these matchups that are in their favor. They can go ahead and close this one out.
And right now they've actually got a taller lineup on the floor, as Reed is the only big man out there for the Mastodons. Landis driving in. He kicks to a wide open Reed. And we got a charge as Landis ran over Sandifer. And he is kicking himself. He is not happy.
Not happy with the call, and he comes up limping too.
So what a change of events is.
That's double trouble.
So it will be Western basketball. That's a 3rd foul on Landis and the team 8th against IPFW. It's only 2 fouls away from the double bonus, and we got 11 minutes and 30 seconds left in this game.
A lot of basketball to play. They've just been playing really physical here to start the second half, and it hasn't really worked out. Western's still up by 5.
IPFW stepping up their defense. They go inside to Mo Conde.
And there you go, Conde noticing what he's got, and Reed down low. Really got the ball really close to the basket. Now he gets a board on the other end, and Conde just gets on these streaks where he can play really well.
McClusick tossing it into the hands of a few Mastodons as there's a lot of miscommunication, so. And we got to travel. That's an easy call. So back-to-back turnovers as both teams are trying to step up their play, but they're doing it in a sloppy way.
Yeah. I mean, that time he really just jumped with the basketball, or jumped when he caught it. So that's 2 steps right there. You need to take a dribble before you take another. It's just presence of mind and them just working the ball a little bit too fast there.
And after that last time that Conde basically had his way in the paint, they had to check Forbes back in as Calder now charged with a foul. So Calder, that's his first foul, team 9th. As you can, I don't know if you heard of it. Kaufman explained, head coach Kaufman over here explained why the foul was called, as he's agreeing with the referees, even though his team has got 5 more fouls up on the board.
And one little sloppy foul on the outside, now turn into a couple of shot or free throw opportunities for Western. Each of those fouls is going to cost them, and Western can continue to extend the lead, now up by 8.
And again, off the front iron after doing so well on the first free throw. Calder being guarded by J.C. Fuller. McCray driving in. Over to Reed for another 3. Off the mark. Rebounded by Covington. And that's always good to see, too. The next helping up IPFW's McCray.
The fact that it's on Covington when he's got the basketball, that's going to be him going to the line. So you want to play a little bit more physical or more aggressive to get back into it. But if it's going to cost you, easy free throws for Western, you got to question how aggressive can you continue to play with 10 minutes left. I think you need to ease off just a little bit because, like, you're in just such hard foul trouble, and some of these guys are starting to rack up fouls.
And you know what? I mean, you say that. I mean, but most of them, it seems like they're at 3. None of them are in foul trouble yet. They're all flirting with it, though.
Yeah, you can continue to get there. Yeah, a couple of guys that have 3 right now.
As Covington, ice in his veins, knocking down 2 free throws, making it a 10-point game.
You know, it's surprising to see that was on the Macedon possession there, that was the first 3-point attempt I think we've seen from Reed this half. And he's their leading scorer. I mean, we talked about how even this team has been all season with scoring the basketball, and how any one of them can take over a game. He's got 13 points. He's the guy, he's the hot hand getting these open looks. You got to give him the ball more often.
He's leading the way. He's the only person for Fort Wayne in double figures. As you see a lot of 5s and 6s, but I mean they're spreading the ball out. But I mean, when someone's got a hot hand, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Give him the ball.
I mean, Reed's been the one guy that's really stood out offensively for Fort Wayne. No one's really, shown up past 5 or 6 points. Mo Evan has 6. That's your second leading scorer. And Landis, of course, has 6, but he just went out with an injury, and he hasn't made a basket all half yet. So I think you continue to try and get the ball around to Reed and use that shooting, and that's really, Reed's getting these open looks when Forbes is out on the floor, so now he's got to come back out.
And they get the ball to Reed quickly. Now they go inside to Forbes. Double team, triple teamed, out to Evans. Off the mark, rebounded by Conde. So they found the open guy, but again, they're just not sinking those easy open shots.
Evans now 0 for 5 from 3. He's gotten some open looks. He just has been unable to hit.
McClusick off the screen from the elbow. He is just dynamite. 1 or 2 dribbles to his right.
And now into double figures, likes that pick and pop area right next to the elbow, and hits a big one right there to put Western up by 12. And we talked early on, if McClusick can get into a rhythm, that's a weapon that we haven't seen them have in quite a few games. And right now, it's making them pay. You're leaving them open a couple of times, and the fact that McClusick's even in the game is because Chapman got into some foul trouble. So, you see one negative and you turn that into a positive. Now Western back out to a 12-point lead.
And I want to highlight just a little bit about head coach Billy Wright. I mean, most teams that are going to come in here to Western Hall, they realize that, it's Billy Wright, the same guy that coached underneath Coach Molinari, but this is not the way Coach Mo would play the basketball game. I mean, IPFW is finding out the hard way, but I mean, I think this is going to be good for the Summit League. They're all kind of getting a test of what Billy Wright basketball is like.
Right, yeah. You've been playing Western Illinois, and for the past, 6 years, it's been, hey, we're going to use all 32 seconds on that shot clock to try and get ourselves the best look that we can get. And this time, Western trying to work the ball a little bit quicker to get shots.
Speaking of quick, they get the ball inside to Forbes immediately as he backed out Stensgaard to the other side of the lane and got himself an easy layup. So that's ideal coming out of the timeout. This is now a 10-point game again, and Sandefur, a lot of miscommunications as he threw that one into the first row.
Yeah, Fuller drove when Sandefur wanted him to step back and come out for the basketball and hit him in rotation. That one didn't work out. So IPFW needs to use that turnover here to their advantage.
Trying to look back inside to Forbes again, but McCray can't get it to him. And we're going the other way. As Tate Stensgaard immediately fired up.
There's the tee. Him using some naughty language to describe that call. And that's why you go ahead and tee him up. He's going to go ahead and yell like that. Good job by Tate. Coming out. You haven't seen any action since about, 16 minutes and a half.
So, I mean, we've talked about it a couple times. Tate Stensgaard, clearly a mismatch, even though he's around the same height as Forbes. But, I mean, Forbes has got him by about, 50, 60 pounds.
Yeah.
And that was one of the few times that it actually works in Stensgaard's favor.
Yeah, it's one of the few plays that Tate's actually made on him. Was that time right there, and it doesn't come at a better time to force the foul.
So you got, sorry to cut you off there, we got the original foul, and then we got a technical foul. So that's 5 on Forbes. He's done.
Yeah, he's all done for today.
And Covington sinks the first free throw. So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Western, obviously the foul took place, so it's Western basketball already. Then the technical happens, so they're going to get these 2 free throws in the basketball, right?
They should get these 2, yeah, in the basketball. Not going to get any shots from it since we possess the basketball. But a good job by Garrett sinking both of those. Western out with a big lead, and I think the even bigger play is that Forbes is out of the game right now. So Western going ahead and use that.
And not only does that take Forbes out of the game, that's also 10 fouls against IPFW. So Western, for the next 8 minutes and 45 seconds, will be shooting in the double bonus.
And you need to go ahead and use that. You need to be driving to the basket, make them defend you, and stay with you here late up in the game. You know, if they come in and foul you, they foul you.
They take it outside. Here's Sandefur driving in. Fade away. Bang, bang.
He nails it right over Reed. Fade away from the elbow. Nice knockdown by Sandefur. We're up by 14.
Western being able to switch out on the perimeter. They go inside to Reed now. His left hand's off the mark. Here comes Western. They tried to go underneath. That pass was intended for Fuller.
Yeah.
And McCondy just kind of ran right in the way.
Conde got excited and wanted a piece of the action, as Fuller was really the one running the route outside, getting himself full speed behind him. And Sandefur looked for him and thought he had him, but yeah, Conde just threw up his arm and intercepted that one.
And Sandefur's kicking himself because head coach Billy Wright's saying, slow down. You know, we got a 14-point lead. We don't need to be turning the ball over. Edwards trying to get that ball inside, and he does. Here's Edwards. Shots off the mark. Stensgaard hits the deck, but it's going to be a foul against him. I believe that's only his 3rd foul.
And interesting that IPFW's not going away from their offensive strategy. They're just using Reed now down in the paint to go ahead and cycle it through him. And now Reed's going to even start pounding it down low. So they're going with that the guy who's their leading scorer and using the mismatch that he kind of has with Stensgaard out there. But interesting, you know, Reed didn't really seem like a post player coming into this one, and now they're kind of using him in a different role to be in that post. And you know, he hasn't yet to make a shot yet, it seems like, in the paint. But at least he's able to force contact and get to the line here to get something out of that possession.
So they're doing exactly what we expected them to do, which was to go back to Reed, but they're doing it in a completely different light than, you know, that we're used to. I mean, but you're the only post guy on the floor, the only guy who can really play post.
Right.
I mean, you got to have somebody down there,
right.
or else you got guys like Conde, Stensgaard, Chapman. We're just going to clean up.
Right, and it seems like no one else on the outside for Fort Wayne has really been able to step up and make shots. The only guy consistently really has been Landis, and he's over on the bench with an injury. You know, these other guys, Evans, McCray, Edwards as well, you know, combined 2 for 12 from three-point land. So these guys have been unable to consistently hit shots. Well, they missed a lot, and this team just shooting 11% from 3 right now.
Wow.
So it's interesting to see, you know, Fort Wayne kind of collapsing with that three-point shot. And Western just has to continue to keep that same defensive intensity up for another 7 minutes, and they'll have a win here on the first Summit League night of the season.
And coming into this game, IPFW, they had 5 guys that average more than 10 points a game. That's incredible. You know, that's amazing. That's what you want to have if you're the head coach of IPFW. This game, however, we've got 4 different leathernecks in double digits. Mike McClusick, Mo Conde, Sandefur, and Covington. Everybody getting it done. I mean, and we're working the ball around. This is ideal if you're playing against a team like IPFW.
Yeah, I think this could be one of the most complete games that we're actually seeing them play. You know, and it's coming against one of their better competitions that they've played all year in Fort Wayne. And like you said, 4 guys in double figures. Can't see it play out any better. Only thing you like to see now is it finish with a W.
That's Fuller trying to stay aggressive, but he's going to get swatted out of bounds by Reed, who's making his presence known, as that's at least his 2nd or 3rd block. Sandefur Looking inside at Chapman. He's going to dribble to the top of the key. Here's a screen from Chapman. Skipped on over to McClusick. His three ball off the mark. Rebounded by McCray, who's now got 9 boards in the game. He gets all the way to the rim, but he does not make the easy layup, so he'll head to the line for 2 shots.
I can't believe he won't be more upset at that missed layup. You know, Garrett did get a hand on him in the back, might have got, or obviously did push him because he got the foul call. But just missing that layup, could have stretched that out to a 3-point play, and he could have been able to tie or get within 10.
I hope it's not tying the game.
Yeah, not a tie, 10.
And McCray is off the mark with his first effort. But going back to McCray, I mean, I just said he had 9 rebounds. You do not see a whole lot of great rebounding guards anymore. I mean, this is incredible. I mean, he's 6 foot tall, if that, and he's leading his team in rebounding. And Steve Forbes is 6'9". I mean, he's got 9 inches on McCray, and that's just ridiculous. You don't see that anymore.
Yeah, he's bounced back and look all right since he got injured. About 2 minutes left in the first half. Yeah, like you said, 10 rebounds for a guy who's 6 foot amongst all these trees. Yeah, he's making every bit count and staying aggressive on the defensive end, getting all these boards.
And Calder a little too aggressive on that play, as that'll be another foul against IPFW. So Sandifer now at the line for 2 free throws, as we have been in the double bonus for quite some time, as he has a chance to make it yet a 14-point game. And as he converts on the first. And it's sad to say that Western is basically doing a bulk of their scoring at the line, but at the same time, we're happy to see that because they're a team that struggles from the line.
Yeah, and it's good to see them get into a rhythm from the free throw line. And hey, if Fort Wayne's going to go ahead and foul and put the pressure on Western to make free throws, hey, you go ahead and you make those things down and you continue with the lead.
Reed trying to drive in on Chapman. Floater off the mark. It was an air ball. Rebounded by McClusick. He finds Fuller. Western rotating a lot of guys. Weak side. That's going to be an air ball from Fuller. Calder now calmly pushing the pace. He's going to jump into the body of Chapman. He'll foul Calder just enough to force up a crazy shot. So I guess if you're going to foul him, make sure you hit him hard enough.
And if you're Chapman, you just got to keep your hands straight. You know, he had him straight out up in the air, and then he just wanted to get that block, so he just stroked him on down. Made him hang low right over him, and that caused the contact, and that's why he's at the line right now. So Chapman, another kind of questionable foul. That's number 4 right now. He's come up with just some lazy fouls that can be corrected so easily.
Calder will convert on the second. Evans will check back into the game for IPFW, and Jamie Badish also returned to the floor for Western. Going to get the ball to Sandifer. He almost loses it, but God, man, he can just dance with the basketball. I mean, for only being a sophomore guard, he really carries himself very well. We talked so much about Evans, I think we kind of forgot about Sandifer.
And Sandifer's a great point guard as well, and it's great to see him when he's on the floor with Fuller at the same time.
A big rebound from Chapman as he's going to get Western a fresh 35. And a timeout will be taken.
That's a big-time rebound from Jalen Chapman to get that basketball back. I don't think I've seen a more passionate Billy Wright making that timeout call. He's upset. I think he was taking it out on the ref a little bit. He was yelling for that timeout. He finally got it, but a big rebound by Chapman to give Western another 35 seconds to play with and kind of trim that off the clock. Call that trimming the fat, Drew.
Trimming the fat up. And I'm surprised. I mean, I know Covington is just dying for a three-pointer. He has not made one. He didn't make one in the Anderson game. He's still yet to make one in this game. He's still sitting at old 98 in his career. But, I mean, that's not the time or the place right there, as he was well behind the arc. I mean, I can understand Billy Wright's frustration.
Yeah, you don't want to see anyone taking a three that's when you're heavily guarded and taking a three at this point in the game, you'd rather see someone drive and hopefully get some contact to go to the free throw line because they are playing with those 10 fouls. And when you're sitting in the double bonus, you want to be more aggressive than passive and just kind of sitting and picking and popping at jump shots.
Yeah, I mean, IPFW is going to give you your points if you're patient. Chapman, there's on the roll. They get it to him. And then we got a lot of contact. I assume that's going to be against Reed. No, it's against Calder. And that'll send the not-so-confident Chapman to the charity stripe. He's had a great game off the bench, but he is 0 for 3 at the line. First one. I think I jinxed him. He made the first one there.
Yeah, if you're going to comment on his poor free throw shooting, yeah, he'll go ahead and stick it right to you, Drew. I'll take it.
I'm glad he did. Second one on its way off the front iron. And that'll keep the score at 59 to 45 as Western now to a 14-point lead. Calder driving in off the mark. Rebounded by Chapman. And Western really starting to slow things down. And IPFW just not making the easy ones. I feel like they're getting to the rim with ease, but they're just not finishing.
Yeah, they're not finishing the open shots. They didn't do that in the first half either with these threes. Took them a while to get on a roll from three-point land when Western was giving them that shot. They're just not making those gimmies here.
Covington!
Sweet sauce by Covington down low and a nice roll to the basket. We'll take those two, get them the hard way.
Garrett Covington, again, trying to find his offense, and he has found it. It's up near the rim.
And that'll get the fans up on their feet here, up by 16 points. A big basket from Garrett, and that's something that you needed. He's kind of struggled all day from the field. That time, took the drive, kind of spinned his way into the paint and threw that one up. I don't know how that one went in, but a great shot.
Maybe you should ask Garrett after the game. I think he knew exactly what he was doing. Either way, yeah, 16-point lead. That's amazing. That's great, especially here at home. And, you know, I don't want to say this right now because we got a lot of basketball still to play, but this Western team is playing so much better than the team that played against Anderson. Two very different competition.
Yeah, it's not even comparable. Billy Wright's got this team prepared for this game. And I think this team was kind of waiting for it. You know, you kind of think that you closed that non-conference schedule out at Memphis, and you played in a pretty large environment there right before the holiday. And you just want to get to conference play and start playing some games that matter here.
As Chapman getting in on the block party, as he's showing what he's going to be playing like in conference play. Completely different ball player.
Yeah, he's finally evolved, and it took all of non-conference schedule to do it. And now he's playing some great basketball. He's becoming an asset, someone Western can depend on down low.
Chapman now top the key, out to McClusick. He had the wide open look. He passed it up.
He wanted a good decision to pass it up, but that's going to result in a turnover and an easy bucket for McCray, who throws it down on the other end.
Side note, a very cool bucket by McCray. I didn't think he could get up like that. That makes it a 14-point game, 61 to 47 with 4 minutes to play. Badish passes up to three. Now still in the corner. This time it's McClusick. Covington trying to get some separation. And we got a travel, as he was just trying to do too much.
Yeah, he just putting the team on his back and trying to take the ball and, you know, take it to the hoop. A lot of contact, but just went to the floor, and that's going to cause a travel. You got the guards out on the court for the reason you want to cycle that ball and get some dribbles in. And like I said, just force contact, and Fort Wayne playing some good defense here down the stretch.
And that turnover by Garrett, that will send him to the bench. J.C. Fuller checking back into the game for him. And, you know, we're up by, 14 right now, 61 to 47. Conde is just playing himself, just an amazing game. How come we're not seeing more of him right now?
You know, I think that might speak to his free throw shooting ability, and that's not because he's played an amazing game, but that's not something you want to see at the free throw line here late in the game. You only want to keep one of those big guys out there. It'd either be Chapman or Conde, and Chapman's starting to heat up once again. So it's good to see him on the floor, but you want more free throw shooters. I think that's why Badish is out there. I think that's why Covington's been in there so long, because he's 7 of 8 from the field, or from the free throw stripe. So I think that's the reason you're seeing those guys out there. You want more of that free throw shooting squad on the floor to make shots if they are given to you. And if you're Fort Wayne, you don't want to see them start hacking people to get them to the line. But it is a strategy that could be played. But like you said, a lot of times still just under 4 minutes left to play here.
Western in the game is shooting 68.2% from the free throw line. And Fort Wayne a 76.5. So, I mean, not a huge difference, but and a big enough difference, especially when you're looking at it on the stat sheet. Evans trying to go baseline. Sander really cut him off. Edwards shot fake. And we got a foul. If that's against Chapman, his night's done. And it is. That's foul number 5 on Jalen Chapman. And he had himself a pretty good game. 7 boards, 7 points, a block and a steal in around 24 minutes.
Just got a little too handsy there playing D. But now we are going to see Mo Conde out on the floor, and cut back to Covington, who seemed like he was out off the floor for maybe 40 seconds. Till now he's back in the game.
So 2 of Western's leading scorers return to the action. Reed at the line. He converts the first. That was the 8th team foul against Western. So still 2 shy of the double bonus with 3:39 to play. Reed, second one, up and in as he remains the top scoring threat for Fort Wayne. He's now got 16 points. Sanderford going up the court. And then they're going to back it up as they got a chance to take this to 3 minutes.
Good job by Western. You really push the basketball for a couple of seconds, get it down on the other end of the floor for Fort Wayne to play it down in the paint, and then you force that ball right back out to kill some time off the clock here.
Fuller hand off to Covington. We got 10 to shoot. Now it's in the hands of Sandifer. Going right at the body of Reed, off the mark, rebounded by McCray. He's looking to push the pace. Hand off to Evans, wide open look for 3. And that is a huge bucket as it's a 9-point game.
And bold shot right there by Evans. Not travel, he didn't have the ball long enough. That's I want to say a bad foul by Edwards, but really, I mean, you have still close to 30 seconds on the shot clock, and you're fouling there in the backcourt.
And you're fouling one of the better free throw shooters on Western's roster. And that is Garrett Covington. He is 7 of 8 on the day. Make that 8 of 9.
Interesting shot from Evans as he puts up his put up his 6th three-point attempt, and that's the first one he's made all night.
Talk about timing.
Yeah, talk about great timing there to pull him within single digits. But now Covington responds with a couple of free throws to make it 63-52.
Now inside 3 minutes. It's an 11-point game. Still a lot of basketball left, and IPFW's clearly stated they are not done. Landis going to McCray. They go inside to Reed. Going with a lot of contact, and then McClusick jumping out of his body.
And good D by Mo Conde down low on Reed as he continues to try and back down Western, and it just hasn't worked. He's had a great shot all game, but it really hasn't transpired in the paint when Fort Wayne's really needed it.
Fuller driving in. McClusick now over to Covington. 7 to shoot. He doesn't take the screen. And we're going the other way as McCray got the contact. And head coach Billy Wright just laughing at the referee. Does not agree with that call.
Both players were really moving. I don't know if he was able to get his feet down in time. Like I said, both Covington's driving to the basket. McCrae's staying with him step for step. I don't think he got his feet planted in time. Happened right around that free throw line.
Evans driving in all the way to the hoop as he has become his the main target for IPFW.
Yeah, he's now in double figures after he averages 10 a game.
Covington getting fouled again by Edwards in about the same spot, really. So that's going to send Covington back to the line with 1:44.
That's Edwards just playing a little bit overly aggressive and lands on top of Covington here in the backcourt right in front of us. And that's just a costly foul. Just playing a little bit over aggressive, trying to anticipate that pass. And that just killed all his momentum, and good play by Covington to just stay put and take the contact.
First one on its way, up and good. As Covington makes it a 10-point game. And, we talk about how, we are getting to the foul line. They're getting points right now, but they do look nervous by this IPFW full court press. And, if it wasn't for this 10-point lead, they should be scared.
Yeah, IPFW is continuing to score here late in the game. Western got to be able to play that D up till the final buzzer.
Evans doesn't take the screen. Here's Edwards off a screen, and it's going to be against McClusick. That is foul number 10. So Edwards will now head the line for 2 shots, and he is a perfect 2 of 2 on the day from the charity stripe.
Yeah, I think Mike might have just gotten his elbow in there as he was trying to fight through that screen and get around to Edwards and try and get out in front of him, and that just a little bit too much contact, and Edwards did sell it really well as he fell over towards press row here.
First one is off the mark, and that'll keep it at an 11-point game. So I guess a good foul, I guess. Second one, up and good. Back to a 10-point game. They get the ball into McClusick. He's going to get that ball past half court and then just pull up in the hands of Sandifer. And we got a foul on Evans as he went for it and just got a little too much arm there.
They're trying to work that trap, and now I think is the time when you start getting aggressive. You're down 10. There's 1:20 left.
You're running out of time.
Yeah, you're just running out of time. The clock's fighting up against you. You need to play, some trap defense and try and get a steal.
Sandifer. He makes the first one as he remains to have a pretty good day at the free throw line. Making it 66-55. Second one up on and in good. 12-point game. Minute 22 to play as Western try to hold on for their first conference win of the year and their first conference game of the year. Reed on the inside. Bucket and the foul.
A big bucket and foul for Reed on Conde.
That foul was issued to McClusick. That's his 3rd foul of the game. Western now at more than 10 fouls.
And he was over the helping. They had 2 defenders. Both McClusick and Conde were on Reed, and Reed finally with a good finish down low to get a couple of points.
McCrae with the offensive board.
And there's a 4-point swing right there, and that's just McCrae being athletic to jump up and get a piece of that board.
And Jabari doing what he does best, and that's just clearing the slate. Trying to get out, trying to beat this press by himself. And as he draws a foul on Evans, that's his 4th foul.
Some big free throws to be shot here within this next minute.
We talked about earlier how they were trading baskets. If you're going to be trading baskets like this, you got to be the team that makes your free throws.
Now Western just pulling all their defenders back. Not going to try for that rebound.
Evans taking his time as we're now inside 1 minute. Reed gets the ball to McCrae. Shot fake, driving in now. All the way to the rim, he finishes.
And McCrae has come alive here with the last couple of minutes of this game. Him and Evans, these 2 guards.
as Evans really just shoving his weight into Sandifer.
Really getting into the ref's face there. He's
Yeah.
able to hold back and not give him any extra fouls there.
So that's foul number 5 on Evans. And head coach Kaufman, I mean, he should be counting his stars that he didn't get called a technical on him right there.
Probably not an extra shot. I think he's real upset because Evans has really been playing some good basketball here within the past couple of minutes. Really struggled at the start of this one, but has ended up to give you, like I said, some good minutes. Getting some boards and some clutch shots here late on. But now you take him out of that mix, a player that's been really a part of this comeback here for IPFW. Wants him to finish the game, but now you just worry about Western making a couple of free throws to keep this lead up.
So 68-61 is your score. 7-point game as Western's on top. Their biggest lead of the game was 16 some odd points as it's slowly dwindled down, but so is the time. And that right now is the biggest enemy against IPFW, as it's now back to an 8-point game. Second one. Up and good. 9-point game, final 45 seconds left. Reed driving in. As Conde basically just gives it to him.
Just gave him that point. Got to worry about getting the ball in now.
Timeout was taken by head coach Billy Wright before the travel was made. So Western catching a break.
Holding on here. Now we're down to 38 seconds. Like we said, that clock just continues to fight against this Mastodon comeback and working in Western's favor. And talk about the clutch play. They keep getting it into Sandifer, who's just getting that basketball and taking some fouls. He's got to worry about continuing to make free throws. They've gone to him the last 3 times down the floor. The Mastodons are going to go ahead and foul him every time. So a good player to go to who can definitely work the basketball and not turn that thing over. I think that's what Billy Wright's worried about the most, is just getting that ball in and then taking care of the ball so that you don't turn that thing over and just go to the line and make as many shots as you can.
And you know, turnovers have really been one of the main focuses of the game. And if you look at the points off turnovers, Western's winning that department by 7. And I mean, the Mastodons had turned the ball over 14 times. I mean, it's added up. I mean, and that's why it shows up on the scoreboard. Western's up by 7. You know, if you're careless with the basketball, I'm happy Western can make you pay for it.
Yeah, the turnovers on top of shooting just 31% in this game.
We got a foul as somehow Sandifer held onto that basketball, just dribbling, weaving through everybody. And it's starting to get physical, too.
Physical foul and physical play just to go get the ball inbounds. Both teams fighting for territory.
And Western better believe that if they foul, I mean, that's going to stop the clock, and the Mastodons are going to get 2 chances from the free throw line. That's the worst thing you can do right now.
Right.
Sandifer really ice in his veins right now. I mean, it's been great. As
Sandifer's trying to sell that push off. Definitely did get an arm on himself, but no call being made.
And that's going to be a turnover. Here's McCray. Out to Landis for 3. That's off the mark. Rebounded by Reed. It's on the floor. It's going to walk away. As here's Conde now making a run for it. It's going to be an over and back call on IPFW. What a strange play of events. It's going to end up with Western with 17.5 seconds left.
IPFW getting 2 shot attempts and a really good awareness by Jamie Badish, who hasn't seen a ton of floor time. Gets the awareness to hit up Landis, who was open for him 3. They work the ball over to Landis, and he launches the 3. And like I said, good closeout defense by Badish to get a hand in his face. Stop from him getting a good 3-point shot off.
And McCray yelling at Calder saying, get up, foul him. You got fouls to give, and we're down right now. I don't know what you're doing. There's 3 seconds got taken off the clock.
Yeah, Sandifer, he just got a lot of space, and it didn't seem like IPFW knew who was going to be guarding him to take the foul.
Sandifer finally misses from the free throw line, as he was just on a roll, being the sole source of offense for Western. Second one on its way. That's going to be good. 73 to 65 is your score. Final 10 seconds of the game. We got a foul on the floor. Either way, it's going to be 2 free throws for Calder.
And Conde thought he was playing good defense, and I thought he was too. From our angle, looked like he had a big piece of the basketball, but might have gotten some hand there to make the call be made.
First one on its way up and good. 7-point game with 9 seconds left. And the second one is good as well. They get the ball into McClusick, now back to Covington. And they're not going to foul, so that'll be the end of the game. Western getting a great conference win here at home. The final 73 to 67.
And interesting that they just conceded victory there with about 10 seconds left. It's still a 2-possession game. Interesting that they just say, hey, we're going to let's call that one and play for another day. Western Illinois really showing up tonight. On the opening of conference play, we didn't really know what to expect after we saw a lot of different styles of play from Western over the whole non-conference schedule, but they come out tonight and they play some great basketball. I think one of the best games that we've seen so far this year. Couldn't come on a better night against a division foe that was projected to finish in first this season. Finished with 4 players up in double figures, and it couldn't have come during a better game.
And I want to say Western killed the hype for both squads. So the final one more time, 73 to 67, as WIU moves to 1-0 in conference, and IPFW falls to 0-1. For Jeff Marta, I'm Drew Hoffman saying so long from Western Hall, and as always, go Leathernex.